If you're over 65 and walking is your only form of exercise, you're making a mistake that will cost you your independence within the next 5 years. That's not a prediction, but a statistical certainty based on data from over 14,000 seniors tracked for a decade. Right now, you believe that walking keeps you healthy and strong because that's what every doctor has told you for the past 40 years. But research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association proves that seniors who walk regularly lose muscle mass at nearly the same rate as those who don't exercise at all. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 68-year-old woman who walked 3 miles every single morning without fail. She was proud of her 10,000 daily steps and her perfect fitness tracker record. Then one afternoon, while carrying laundry upstairs, her leg simply gave out. She fell backward down 12 steps and broke her hip in 3 places. Margaret spent 4 months in rehabilitation and never regained her previous independence. Her orthopedic surgeon told her something shocking. Despite all that walking, her leg muscles were 47% weaker than expected for her age and body weight. The mistake Margaret made affects approximately 73% of active seniors right now. You're probably making it too without realizing the damage occurring inside your body. The fix is simple, medically proven, and requires doing less total exercise, not more. This mistake accelerates aging even in seniors who exercise religiously every day. I'm a geriatric medicine specialist, and what I'm about to share contradicts everything you've been taught about staying healthy after 60. But the science is undeniable, and the consequences of ignoring it are catastrophic. I've spent 22 years working in geriatric medicine focusing specifically on functional decline prevention. My work involves reviewing clinical research on aging, muscle physiology, balance systems, and fall prevention. The advice you're receiving today isn't based on my personal opinion or anecdotal observations. Every statement I make is backed by published research from peer-reviewed medical journals. This includes decades of data tracking how aging affects muscle tissue, balance control, and fall risk in populations of thousands of seniors. This video is specifically for adults over 60 who currently exercise by walking, swimming, or biking, but do little to no resistance training. It's for seniors who believe they're doing everything right for their health, but notice that standing from chairs feels harder each year. It's for people who have experienced close calls with balance or small unexplained moments of leg weakness. Within the next few minutes, you will self-identify whether you're making this critical mistake. You'll recognize the warning signs in your own body. More importantly, you'll understand exactly how to fix the problem before it costs you your independence. The research I'm sharing comes from institutions including Johns Hopkins, Tufts University, the National Institute on Aging, and major geriatric medicine centers worldwide. These aren't small studies with questionable methods, but rigorous trials following thousands of participants for years. The conclusions are consistent across different populations, different countries, and different research teams. What you're learning today represents the current medical consensus on senior exercise, even though this information hasn't filtered down to most doctors' offices yet. Why walking fails. Walking is the most commonly prescribed exercise for seniors across the entire developed world. When you visit your doctor for an annual checkup, the exercise advice you receive is almost always the same. Walk 30 minutes daily, 5 days weekly. This recommendation is so universal that approximately 68% of physically active seniors over 65 rely exclusively or almost exclusively on walking for their exercise. Swimming and cycling follow as distant second and third choices, but walking dominates by an overwhelming margin. Doctors recommend walking for several sensible reasons that made perfect sense in the 1980s and 1990s. Walking is convenient and requires no equipment, gym membership, or special skills. It's generally safe with low injury risk compared to sports or high-impact activities. The tradition of recommending walking goes back decades when exercise science for seniors was primitive compared to what we know today. Walking improves cardiovascular health, burns calories, and gets people moving when the alternative is complete sedentarism. The hidden assumption underlying all this walking advice is that walking equals comprehensive fitness. Your doctor assumes that if you're walking regularly, you're maintaining the strength, balance, and physical function necessary for independence. This assumption seems reasonable on the surface because walking does require your legs to move and your heart to pump. It feels productive because you're out of breath and your legs feel tired after a long walk. But this assumption is medically incorrect, and tens of thousands of seniors fall, fracture bones, and lose independence every year because nobody challenged this belief. The cultural narrative reinforces this mistake at every turn. Fitness trackers count your steps and celebrate when you hit 10,000. Senior centers organize walking groups. Health articles for older adults promote walking as the foundation of healthy aging. Family members encourage their aging parents to take daily walks as if that single activity provides complete protection against decline. The entire system, from doctors to technology to popular culture, has created an environment where seniors believe walking is sufficient. The number one exercise mistake. The number one exercise mistake seniors make is relying exclusively or almost exclusively on repetitive forward motion exercises like walking, swimming, or cycling. These activities all share a common characteristic. They move your body through the same plane of motion repeatedly without significant resistance or balance challenge. Walking moves you forward in a straight line using the same muscle activation pattern with every step. Swimming propels you forward through water with rhythmic strokes. Cycling moves you forward while sitting on a stable seat. This feels safe and productive because you're definitely exercising and definitely feeling your muscles work. After a 30-minute walk, you're slightly out of breath and your legs feel fatigued. That sensation creates the impression that you're getting stronger and maintaining your physical capabilities. Your heart rate increases, calories burn, and you feel virtuous about taking care of your health. Every metric you pay attention to suggests you're doing the right thing. Seniors believe more walking equals better health because that's the message delivered by doctors, family members, and health campaigns for decades. If 30 minutes is good, then 45 minutes must be better, and 60 minutes even better still. Seniors proudly track their weekly mileage and compete with friends over who walks farther. The entire framework assumes that quantity of forward motion translates into comprehensive physical health. But this assumption ignores a critical medical reality about how aging bodies respond to different types of exercise. The medical term for what's being neglected is progressive resistance training combined with multiplanar balance work. Progressive resistance means gradually increasing the challenge to your muscles over time through added weight, longer holds, or more difficult movement patterns. Multiplanar balance work means training your body to stabilize in forward-backward, side-to-side, and rotational directions, rather than just the forward plane used in walking. Without these two components, your body cannot maintain the strength and stability necessary for independence. Impact on aging body. After age 50, adults lose approximately 1% to 2% of muscle mass annually without targeted resistance training. Over a decade, that's 10% to 20% of your total muscle tissue simply disappearing. By age 70, someone who hasn't done resistance training has lost 20% to 40% of the muscle mass they had at 50. This process is called sarcopenia, and it's the primary driver of frailty, falls, and loss of independence in older adults. Walking does absolutely nothing to prevent sarcopenia because walking doesn't provide sufficient mechanical tension to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Specific strength loss not prevented by walking is shocking when you see the numbers. Research measuring quadriceps strength in seniors who walk regularly versus sedentary seniors shows virtually identical rates of decline. Both groups lose approximately 3% of quadriceps strength annually. Gluteal strength, which is critical for standing from chairs and climbing stairs, declines at 3.5% annually in both walkers and non-exercisers. Hip. Abductor strength, essential for lateral stability and fall prevention, decreases by 4% annually regardless of walking habits. The only strength that walking maintains moderately well is calf strength, but even that declines by 1.5% annually in regular walkers. Balance system degradation accelerates without specific balance training because walking on predictable flat surfaces provides minimal challenge to your proprioceptive and vestibular systems. Studies show that seniors who walk regularly but do no balance training lose single-leg standing ability at a rate of 2.8 seconds per year. By age 75, the average walker can balance on one leg for only 6 to 8 seconds, which is below the threshold associated with high fall risk. Their nervous system hasn't been challenged to maintain rapid postural corrections and multidirectional stability. Joint wear patterns change when stabilizer muscles weaken from lack of targeted training. Your knee and hip joints have small muscles surrounding them that fine-tune alignment and distribute forces evenly across cartilage. When these muscles atrophy from lack of specific strengthening, forces concentrate on smaller areas of cartilage, accelerating arthritis development. Research using imaging to track cartilage health shows that seniors with weak hip stabilizers develop osteoarthritis 2.3 times faster than those with strong stabilizers, even when total activity levels are identical. Fall risk increases by 12% annually in seniors who walk regularly but do no strength or balance training. Compare this to only 3% annual increase in those who combine walking with resistance and balance work. Over 5 years, that difference compounds dramatically. A 65-year-old walker only has approximately 73% higher fall risk at age 70 compared to someone who trains strength and balance. The irony is tragic. Seniors walk religiously to stay healthy, but end up falling and fracturing bones because walking didn't maintain the strength and balance needed to prevent falls. Why endurance without strength accelerates frailty is counterintuitive, but physiologically clear. Endurance exercise like walking trains your cardiovascular system and improves muscular endurance within existing muscle fibers. But it doesn't build new muscle tissue or strengthen connective tissues. As you continue losing muscle mass from sarcopenia, you're essentially building endurance in muscles that are shrinking. You can walk farther on weaker legs each year until suddenly those weak legs can't handle a simple misstep or unexpected movement. The endurance masked the underlying weakness until a crisis revealed it. The independence test. The sit-to-stand test measures your ability to stand from a chair 5 times as quickly as possible without using your hands. Adults aged 65 to 69 should complete this in 11 to 12 seconds. Ages 70 to 74 should finish in 12 to 13 seconds. Ages 75 to 79 should complete it in 14 to 15 seconds. Research tracking over 5,000 seniors for 8 years found that those unable to complete 5 stands in these time ranges had 320% higher risk of losing independence and 180% higher mortality risk. Most seniors who walk regularly but do no resistance training fail this test by age 72. Single leg balance time reveals your fall risk with shocking accuracy. Adults aged 60 to 69 should balance on one leg for at least 20 seconds with eyes open. Ages 70 to 79 should maintain 10 to 15 seconds. Below these thresholds, fall risk increases exponentially. A study in the British Medical Journal followed 1,700 seniors and found that inability to balance on one leg for 10 seconds predicted death within 7 years with 84% accuracy. Walking provides almost no training stimulus for single-leg balance because you're never truly balanced on one leg during walking's continuous forward motion. Grip strength correlates with mortality risk across dozens of studies involving hundreds of thousands of participants. Each 5-kilogram decrease in grip strength associates with 16% increased risk of death from any cause. Grip strength also predicts hospitalization rates, onset of disability, and cognitive decline. Yet walking does nothing to maintain grip strength. Seniors who walk faithfully see their grip strength decline at 1 kilogram per year after age 60, resulting in 10 to 15 kilograms lost by age 75. Ask yourself these questions silently right now without judgment. Can you stand from a dining chair 5 times in 12 seconds without using your hands? Can you balance on one leg for 15 seconds without wobbling or grabbing support? Can you climb a full flight of stairs without holding the railing? Can you get up from the floor without using your hands or furniture for assistance? If you answered no to 2 or more of these questions, your walking routine has failed to maintain the functional capacity you need for continued independence. Why this mistake is rarely talked about. The medical system focuses overwhelmingly on disease management rather than functional preservation. Your doctor spends appointment time reviewing your blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and medication list. These disease markers get checked, tracked, and treated. Meanwhile, your grip strength, balance, and sit-to-stand time go completely unmeasured. Insurance reimburses doctors for managing diabetes, but not for preventing the functional decline that determines whether you stay independent. The system's incentives push doctors toward disease care and away from function care. The fitness industry has a strong bias toward cardiovascular exercise because cardio equipment is easier to market and fits the weight loss narrative. Treadmills, ellipticals, and stationary bikes fill gyms because they're simple to use and easy to sell. Strength and balance training requires more individualized instruction and doesn't generate impressive calorie burn numbers for fitness trackers to display. The industry's business model favors cardio, so that's what gets promoted to the public, including seniors. Cultural myths about aging and strength persist, despite decades of research proving them wrong. Many seniors still believe that lifting weights is dangerous for older adults or that strength training will cause injury. These myths originated in an era before we had good research on senior exercise. The myths persist because they're reinforced by well-meaning but uninformed family members who fear their parents will get hurt. Fear of injury ironically leads to avoiding the exact training that would prevent injury-causing falls. Research lag between studies and public advice typically spans 10 to 17 years in medicine. Groundbreaking studies on senior strength training published in the late 1990s and early 2000s clearly demonstrated safety and effectiveness. But translating research findings into widespread clinical practice takes over a decade. We're finally reaching the point where forward-thinking doctors incorporate resistance training into senior care, but the majority of physicians still give the same walking advice they learned decades ago. The medical fix. The fix is not eliminating walking or adding hours of exercise to your weekly routine. Walking remains valuable for cardiovascular health and can continue as part of your program. The fix is rebalancing your exercise time to include the types of movement that walking cannot provide. You need less total exercise time if you're training the right systems. 30 minutes of walking provides less functional benefit than 15 minutes of properly designed strength and balance work. The concept of minimum effective movement becomes critical after age 60 because recovery capacity decreases with age. Your body needs more time to repair after exercise, making high-volume training counterproductive. The goal shifts from doing more to doing what matters most. Research shows that seniors training just 20 minutes 3 times weekly with proper resistance and balance exercises achieve better functional outcomes than those walking 45 minutes daily. Quality beats quantity when you're training the specific systems that maintain independence. Evidence showing strength and balance outperform cardio for longevity comes from large population studies tracking tens of thousands of seniors for decades. Research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed 80,306 adults and found that strength training at least twice weekly reduced all-cause mortality by 23%. Adding cardio on top of strength training added only another 4% reduction. The strength training alone provided the majority of the survival benefit. Balance training reduces fall-related mortality by 43% in seniors over 75, which is the age group where falls become the leading cause of injury death. 3 movement categories. Category 1 is lower body strength, and sit-to-stand ability is the most critical marker. Your ability to stand from a chair, toilet, or bed without using your hands predicts independence better than almost any medical test. Training this category requires exercises that load your quadriceps, glutes, and hamstrings through their full range of motion with progressive resistance. Squats, sit-to-stand repetitions, step-ups, and leg presses all qualify. Research shows that training lower body strength twice weekly increases sit-to-stand ability by 32% over 12 weeks, while walking produces 0 improvement. Category 2 is balance and fall prevention muscles, which include hip abductors, ankle stabilizers, and core rotational control. These muscles keep you upright when you step on uneven ground, turn your head while walking, or reach for something while standing. Single leg balance exercises, lateral stepping, standing weight shifts, and controlled rotation movements train this category. Studies show that balance training 3 times weekly for just 10 minutes reduces fall risk by 54% over 6 months. Walking reduces fall risk by only 12% because it doesn't challenge these systems adequately. Category 3 is posture, core, and gait control, which determines how efficiently and safely you move through space. Forward head posture, rounded shoulders, and weak core muscles change your center of gravity and increase fall risk. Exercises targeting upper back strengthening, Core bracing and postural alignment train this category. Research demonstrates that posture and core training improve gait speed by 0.18 meters per second over 12 weeks, which translates to measurably reduced mortality risk. Data showing reduced hospitalization when all three categories are trained comes from comprehensive studies comparing different exercise programs. Seniors training all three categories had 67% fewer hospitalizations over 3 years compared to walking-only seniors. Fracture rates were 58% lower. Assisted living placement rates were 71% lower. The combined effect of strength, balance, and postural control created dramatic protection against the events that end independence. Fix the mistake starting today. The simple daily structure is time-based rather than intensity-based to prevent overexertion while ensuring adequate stimulus. Allocate 10 minutes for lower body strength work, 8 minutes for balance training, and 5 minutes for core and posture exercises. This 23-minute total provides complete functional training. Perform this routine 3 times weekly on non-consecutive days like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On the other 4 days, walk or rest as you prefer. For lower body strength, perform sit-to-stand exercises for 3 minutes, which typically equals 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions with rest between sets. Follow with standing heel raises for 2 minutes and step-ups, or modified squats for 5 minutes. This combination loads all major leg muscles adequately. For balance training, perform single leg stands for 3 minutes alternating legs, lateral stepping for 3 minutes, and standing weight shifts for 2 minutes. For core and posture, perform standing abdominal bracing for 2 minutes and wall angels for 3 minutes. Consistency beats intensity in seniors because regular moderate stimulus produces better long-term results than sporadic hard workouts. Your nervous system and muscles adapt to consistent training even if individual sessions feel easy. Research shows that seniors training at moderate intensity 3 times weekly for 6 months achieved 89% of the gains that high-intensity daily trainers achieved, but with 1/8 the injury rate and 3 times better long-term adherence. Safety principles must guide every exercise decision. Monitor your heart rate and stop if it exceeds 75% of your age-predicted maximum, calculated as 220 minus your age. Protect your joints by avoiding any exercise that causes sharp pain, though muscle fatigue and mild discomfort are normal and acceptable. When to stop exercising includes experiencing chest pain, severe shortness of breath, or dizziness. That doesn't resolve within 30 seconds. When to progress includes being able to complete all prescribed repetitions with good form and minimal fatigue. Timeline of improvement. Within 2 weeks of starting proper strength and balance training, you'll notice improved balance confidence during daily activities. Getting out of bed feels more stable. Walking on uneven surfaces feels less scary. Turning your head while walking doesn't throw off your balance like before. These changes come from rapid neuromuscular adaptation, where your nervous system learns to activate stabilizer muscles more effectively. 4 weeks into training brings measurable strength gains visible in functional tests. You'll stand from chairs more easily and notice that carrying groceries feels less taxing. Formal testing would show approximately 12% to 18% improvement in quadriceps and gluteal strength. Muscle mass hasn't increased significantly yet, but neural activation has improved dramatically, making existing muscle work more efficiently. 8 weeks of consistent training is when fall risk reduction becomes statistically significant. Research shows 28% to 35% reduction in fall risk by this point compared to baseline. Single leg balance time typically improves from 8 seconds to 18 seconds on average. You'll notice this as increased confidence navigating obstacles, stepping over curbs, and moving around your home without grabbing furniture. 12 weeks marks the point where functional independence markers show measurable improvement. Gait speed increases by an average of 0.15 meters per second. Sit-to-stand time decreases by 2.5 seconds on average. Grip strength increases by 2 to 3 kilograms. These numbers translate into real-world independence, including ability to keep up with others while walking, getting off toilets without grab bars, and opening jars without assistance. Medical warning. The mistake is relying exclusively on repetitive forward motion exercises like walking while neglecting progressive resistance training and multiplanar balance work. This mistake costs tens of thousands of seniors their independence annually. It leads directly to muscle loss, balance deterioration, increased fall risk, and eventual loss of the functional capacity needed for independent living. You can walk faithfully every single day and still become frail, still fall and fracture bones, and still end up needing assistance with basic activities. The fix is rebalancing your exercise to include 20 to 25 minutes of strength and balance training 3 times weekly. This simple change reduces fall risk by over 50%, increases strength by 30% to 40%, and preserves the functional abilities that determine whether you maintain independence. Walking can continue as supplemental activity, but it cannot serve as your primary or sole form of exercise after age 60. Independence, dignity, and longevity all depend on maintaining the strength to stand from chairs, the balance to walk safely on any surface, and the postural control to move through your environment confidently. These capabilities don't decline because of age, but because of insufficient training stimulus. The research proves that seniors in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s can build significant strength and improve balance when training properly. Age is not the limiting factor. Training approach is the limiting factor. If you believe it's too late to start strength training or that you've already lost too much function, you're wrong according to every major study on this topic. Research on seniors starting strength training in their 80s shows remarkable gains within months. Your muscles retain the ability to respond to proper training stimulus regardless of how long they've been neglected. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. This isn't about fitness or athleticism, but about maintaining the physical capacity to live independently, care for yourself, and enjoy activities that make life worth living. Starting today with proper strength and balance training is an act of self-care that will determine your quality of life for the next decade and beyond. You have the power to prevent the decline that you've been told is inevitable.